Exactly. Nice. Bienvenidos.
Welcome, everyone. So excited to have you with us today. And I'm excited to have Dan. I'm gonna mess up your last name, Dan.
That's
St
okay.
Stachofsky?
Stachowski.
Stachofsky?
Yes.
Oh, see, I totally, I was trying to put a hard K in there from the Midwest.
I know.
We were,
We make it too hard on you. No,
I
can't
know,
be that easy.
I know. Well, we are glad to have Dan with us, who is with Essential Energy. He's got a great story and some great products, and we're happy to have them with us as a part of the Metabolic Health Day Conference, as a sponsor, as a vendor, and also just as an they're providing some extra protection for our guests at the conference, which we're really excited about. I don't know of many conferences that are going to have what he's bringing with them. Grateful to have you, all of you with us today. A little housekeeping before we get started. As I, mentioned, this is a part of the Metabolic Health Day Conference kind of pre-event. We're sharing information about our sponsors and vendors so that you can get to know them a little bit before you get to the conference. And if you're not coming to the conference, you can't attend to it with us in person. There is still an opportunity for you to attend virtually. If you visit metabolichealthday.life, you can purchase a virtual watch party ticket, and that ticket is a log on. So, if you have 10, 15 friends that you want to invite over to your house and kind of watch all these great presentations, either live during the conference itself or post conference, you'll have that opportunity. So, metabolichealthday.life registration for the virtual is $299, and we will close that down right before the conference just so that we can get everybody into the space, but we'll open it back up after the conference as well. So again, glad to have you with us. I have the chat open, and so if you have comments that you would just want to share as Dan's sharing his presentation, you can do that in the comments. There's also the Q&A feature, and so if you have a specific question for Dr. Nasha or Dan during the presentation, feel free to put that in there, and that'll just kind of be answered separately. But use the chat for the good of the group, and then use the Q&A for specific questions. So again, grateful to have you all with us. And with that, I will pass it over to Dr. Nasha.
Hey, everybody. Super great to be with you all here this morning. A ton of people registered this. We probably won't have as many live just because it's everyone's life in the middle of the day of the work week. So, but that tells me there's huge interest here. And every single day as a clinician, I get asked about, these types of products, things to support EMF mitigation, things to support just our bioenergetic fields. And there's a lot of misinformation and probably a lot of bunk out there. And Dan's going to help walk through some of that. So I'm very excited this conversation is going to be happening today. Hopefully, I even saw Dr. Develar in the listening room here. I hope she touches on these concepts during her part of the panel. We've got a lot of amazing people who are really interested and expert in this area. But I got to meet Dan at an event in DC back in July. Kind of an accidental find. And I was super, super excited. We just started talking and hit it off. And when I found out what he was up to, it was just a hard yes for me to invite him to join us. And I think, Dan, it was mutual.
Absolutely.
Well. We were like, this is what we're talking about. So really, this is the situation. Light is life. Right. And so how do we reduce all of this sort of noise, this EMF stress and things that are relatively new to our civilization and help restore metabolic energy? So most people lump EMFs into the same category as other environmental toxins, but this conversation goes far, far deeper. And so today I'm joined with Dan Stachofsky. I'm glad you also pronounced it for me ahead of time, so thank you, to explore how EMFs from 5G and modern technologies are not merely inconvenient, they're disruptive and one of the most fundamental sources of energy, disrupting one of the most fundamental sources of energy for all living systems, our natural light. So they're wreaking havoc and creating some mismatch in there. So Dan brings a really unique perspective. He's a former tech executive. He worked with the Fortune 100 companies like Microsoft and Amazon during the early days of the wireless infrastructure, cloud computing, AI. But a family health crisis set him on a very new path, and he dove deep into EMF research, quantum biophysics, and light-based technologies aimed at restoring the immune and brain function by mitigating these environmental stressors, ranging from just junk lighting to satellite radiation and everything in between. So He also has a very yummy foundation in chemistry from the University of Washington and a very multidisciplinary approach. Dan has become a respected leader in what he calls functional energy stewardship. Love that. And now leads Essential Energy, the company here that we're talking through today, a nonprofit working to improve 1 billion lives by harmonizing photonic therapy. And their EMF conditioning devices are advancing photonic health for humans, animals, and even plants worldwide. He and I talked a lot about how we'll be utilizing this on the farm eventually. The farm hospital, I should say. And Dan is also a member of the Holistic Leadership Council and host of Quantum Healing for Family on the Braveheart Nation platform and a frequent speaker at leading holistic health events. He's also in the top 1% podcast guest and functional nutrition counselor in training under Andrea Nakayama. And his work is informed by peer-reviewed research and recognized by clinicians and biohackers alike. So today, he's going to take us on a journey exploring things like non-native EMFs and their impact on families, farms, and food systems. Eating light, the emerging field of biophotonic nutrition, light-driven cellular health from mitochondrial energy to biophotonic communication, and bioresonance and photonic therapy. So holy cow, hold on to your seats, folks. This is going to be a juicy conversation. Please join me in a warm, warm welcome to Dan. Great to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Nasha. It's so great to be here and love that we get to be together again shortly at the conference and get to share what I have learned over the years here with your audience. It's fantastic. So are you able to see the screen and everything? Great. Okay, well, we're going to jump in. I am going to tell you guys that I did start this whole organization off as a regular business, that is an S corp, but over the years, it just became incongruent with who I was and what we were doing. We were not about building an empire. We're about serving people, and it had to become a nonprofit. So we've been a nonprofit for the last year and a half, and I can't tell you how much that's meant to me and my customers and who we've been helping, because it just changes the equation and it really puts us in that service mode. But I have a lot I'm going to share today. We're going to go through it. And so I'm going to start my timer too, just to make sure we stay on time here. But there, as you can see, this is with my beautiful family. We are doing this as a family. They usually go around the country with me to different events, and it's a lot of fun to be able to do that. Essentialenergy.us is where we share our information, and as a member of the Holistic Leadership Council and all, I mean, that's really the heart of where we are at, is this transition from living in a world like this, where we are just surrounded by all this radiation, whether it's our laptops or Bluetooth headphones, the earbuds, the Wi-Fi, the cordless phones, the cell towers, we're just inundated left and right. And I'm going to talk a lot about things that you guys probably already familiar with, but the pivot we'll take is why this is and how to solve it. Because I think that the thing that EMF is doing for a lot of people that we don't talk enough about is it actually drives a wedge in the community around and drives us to isolation and depression and disconnection. And this is, I think, a real part of when we're sick or we're serving or helping other people who are really sick. It takes a lot out of us, and we have a lot less to give to our neighbors. We just don't want to reach out and do hospitality as much. We also have less a connection with God. It breaks all that because we're fried. We're exhausted at the end of the day. We're stressed out. We're trying to figure out what is going on. What's that missing piece? Why are we feeling the way we are? And I think this is a big part of the fracture we're seeing in our culture. And I do think that it's all driven by light, and the EMF is contributing dramatically to that. As with every health story, this is personal. And I know your story is personal as well. Healthcare isn't about big statistics and aggregate numbers. It's about the N equals 1. It's about you and me. And my daughter here, Jane, she was about 2-year-old. She defied all the odds as far as the 1 in a million case and just could never get diagnosed with anything. And yet, so none of the studies worked for her. Nobody said we're going to label it this way and we're going to handle it this way. And as a very conventionally minded, just typical person, I didn't know what to do with that at the time. But that was the pivot I needed to get me thinking about my health and about the medical world and just everything more functionally, more holistically, more integratively with everything we're doing. And so, what we didn't know then, it really did matter, and it showed up in a big way for us. And why it was a wake up story for us, I want it to be a wake up story for you as well. The importance of light in the body and what we didn't know, this missing piece, because Jane had a very tough first 7 years, significantly healthier next 5 because of what we've learned. But she did pass away, but not too long ago. I mean, it's still like, I can't believe it. We were just talking about her last night and just like, when you almost just wanting her to wake up, it's like, this is real to so many of us. And where it hits the rubber hits the road is, and we didn't know, maybe grasp all of it at the time, but she had the lowest mitochondrial function ever measured by our specialist. I mean, it was super low. And so we did a lot of the things. We got the systems, we got the supplements to try to help support that. She had a very weak immune system, her primary immune disease that caused her to go to the hospital 3 to 4 times for the first 7 years. So we moved out of this city. We tried to raise our own food. We tried to create a low EMF environment. Um, you know, we did all those things, and yet there was still this missing piece that for us, this wasn't like a silver bullet, but it helped raise the everything. It helped raise her immune system and strengthen her in many ways. And it has now for so many people. So what did we learn? What was that missing piece? It sounds simple, but light is life. And we don't talk about this enough. We talk about food and different things that are so critical, but undergirding all that is this, that there is a health component to the type of light that we're surrounded by. That light can be natural or artificial, and all light is feeding our cells something, some information, some nutrient value. And this constant exposure to this artificial EMF greatly weakens our function. And John Ott wrote a book in the 80s, or it might have been the early or late 70s, called Health and Light. And he coined the term malillumination. And I believe it's so appropriate that, and we've seen it with our studies that we've done with our plates. This is a picture of the geofield conditioner that's going to be there protecting the event this coming weekend. This device helps create an amplified form of natural photonic energy throughout the entire building, changing the equation, making it so that we have more natural light than artificial, and our bodies respond to that. The environment responds to that, and we'll show you the data points so you can see it. Photonic bioresonance supports biochemical and biophysical harmony through improved illumination. And we're going to see it in people, so our families, our animals, our plants, production, everything feeds off of this bioresonance. And as an organization, we were part of an international group of research and developers, and we've been able to help over the years since the 90s. Probably more than 10,000 people and over 20 million acres of farmland. So even if people aren't using these, their food may be getting a higher dose of photonics, which improves the nutrient value and the quality of that food. Why is this critical? Well, we've been deceived for a long time. There's a study done in the 90s that by Tom Wheeler, who was the head of the telecom industry at the time. Dr. George Carlo, he was handpicked in 93 to run a research study, seeing if there was a link between cell phones and cancer. The reality is, by about $26 or $28 million later, and about 9 years later, the reports were not in favor of the telecom industry. They showed a clear link between cancer. There were lawsuits in Florida in the 90s about breast cancer and cell phone use. And that all got buried. And Tom Wheeler became the head of the FCC later on. And I mean, this is a captured agency, but this deception has been going on for so long that we've all bought the lie, and we're all okay with this without giving our consent. We now have, from 2020 to 2022, almost 1 million new cell towers, and most of those were 5G millimeter wave towers put up. And then since then, they've just been increasing that number and amplifying the signal strength off those towers as the demand continues, especially with the autonomous vehicles and with all the number of handheld devices we carry. The demand on that infrastructure is continuing to grow. We have miles of power lines. A lot of people don't think about power lines when it comes to EMF, but they create electrical field and a magnetic field. And that in the 70s, there was a study done that showed that the electrical field from these power lines affected the upper atmosphere. They were able to measure a measurable energetic difference when those power lines were turned on in the ionosphere. So when I go onto a farm and they ask me, "Hey Dan, I see that power line there. It's about a mile away. Is it affecting our farm?" Well, if it's affecting the upper atmosphere, like tens of miles away, then yes, it's going to have an effect on our farm as well. So this electrodensity is greater and from a lot of sources. And here's the issue: that artificial electromagnetic fields is a form of light as well, and it creates disruption in our bodies. Dr. Maywan Ho, the late Dr. Maywan Ho, says our bodies have a system of communication that relays critical information between cells at a molecular level using light or electromagnetic resonance. That system, it governs all chemical actions and reactions, indeed life itself. And when that system suffers interferences and loses coherence, we suffer illness. To me, this sums up a lot of where we're at right now. And Einstein says everything in life is vibration. Nikola Tesla says if you want to understand the universe, think in terms of frequency, energy, and vibration. This is the essence of life, and yet we've surrounded ourselves with an environment right now, the age of non-native EMFs, that's affecting our brain, our electrical field, our biofield, our heart, our spleen, our immune system, our metabolic health. All of this is being affected because the form of communication in the cells is being hampered. Only humans are smart enough to create artificial light and maybe naive enough to live under it. The environment we've allowed ourselves to live in is having a major effect on our mitochondrial function. This combination of blue light toxicity and EMF leads to malillumination. Robert Becker says, I have no doubt in my mind that at the present time, the greatest polluting element in the Earth's environment is the proliferation of electromagnetic radiation. And he was involved in research with DARPA in the 60s, figuring out how to help regenerate limbs and regenerate nerves. So he was working at the micro level of energy and frequency in the body. And he could tell, even in the 80s, that this thing was already a major issue and was going to become a bigger issue. And it was going to make us feel sick, because today there's just no escape from it, and now with our satellite communications, it's even worse. They have commitments, these companies, that every square foot of the planet is going to be covered with a satellite to cell phone capability. So people ask, well, where can I go? Well, you can't go to the desert anymore because they have fake cactus out there that are wireless antennas, and they have fake trees as well. Where I'm at, there'll be pine trees. In California, they're palm trees. So they're operating at frequencies just incongruent with nature. Many of you know that Earth's Schumann resonance, 7.83 hertz. It might fluctuate a little bit, but it's a very healing frequency. God designed nature to heal, to be healing, and for us to be in unison and in resonance with Earth and with nature. And yet, you see it when you see our body and how it's designed with the different frequencies. These are all hertz, 10 hertz, 10 to 50 hertz in the chest, 20 to 30 hertz in the head. These are frequencies that are right there in the natural realm. And yet, when we start talking about 5G or 6G, they have plans to go up to 300 gigahertz, which is 38 billion times greater than Earth's natural frequency. That change in energy is catastrophic for life and life itself. And, they're talking about these electric tattoos and brain computer interfaces. they're going to sell the benefits, and yet what is it doing to the cellular communication? 147 companies and governments from 34 countries are operating satellites. It's not just Starlink, who has 8,500 right now with a plan of 30,000. It's not just them. There's a race to get to this level, and there's a company in France that has plans for almost 500,000 satellites, all in the ionosphere. And the ionosphere is where our weather is generated. So the jet stream is going to be affected by all this electricity. The cloud formation, the rain formation, how fast a storm moves. Maybe the floods are caused by some of this. And I mean, it's just where we're doing this, we're creating this environment, and these microwave radiations are dramatically higher than what they used to be. Arthur Furstenberg, in his book, The Invisible Rainbow, laid out this history of electrification of the planet over the last couple hundred years. And it's getting worse and worse. So let's see. So I've just got a couple. Yeah, our immune system, massively underrated as an instrument of good health, is severely hampered by the environment we have created. And Dr. Klinghardt says, cases of MS, ALS, Alzheimer's, ASD, fibromyalgia, autoimmunity, cancer, and other chronic diseases likely will never get better unless patients create a low EMF environment at home. Now, maybe a lot of this isn't necessarily new to you, but I'm setting a stage for what we're going to be talking about. I believe even influenza and respiratory outbreaks are preceded by technology innovations. Remember that picture of our body and the earth at those 7.83 hertz or 10 hertz, 50 hertz. That's low entropy or low stress light and environment is what supports that. All the EMF is high entropy light. It's very a ton of variation, high change. It's chaotic. It's always fluctuating, and that fluctuation creates stress. If you remember the pictures of Los Angeles in the 80s with all the smog, people had respiratory issues because the smog, they were trying to breathe clean air, but it was polluted with bad air. Well, today our cells are trying to function clearly and communicate clearly, but they're blocked or hampered by artificial EMFs, this electrosmog. What happens is we get this destructured cellular water. We want to be hexagonal in our water structure. You could even compare this with blood as well. We want to be structured, but non-native EMFs or artificial EMFs destructure that. When you drink unstructured water, it doesn't absorb as much. You could drink a whole glass of water and you're still thirsty. But when it's structured, it actually is hydrating and life-giving. There's more energy, more vitality in that water. It also, non-native EMFs also disrupt mitochondrial function. There's a lot of different ways. Voltage-gated calcium channel activation, reactive oxygen species overproduction, even DNA damages, right? But it also is over here, male infertility. Multiple studies have shown infertility issues. And on the work I do with the farms, fertility, I didn't know, has been one of the biggest changes that our farmers with like dairy cattle and ranches and livestock see is the fertility numbers go back to what they used to be 20 years ago. We disrupt the biophotonic communication system of the body and lead to neurodegenerative diseases. There's a link between autism and EMF. There's also, neurological impact of electromagnetic fields beyond headaches. Again, we're not just talking about brain fog or other headache-related issues or other symptoms like poor sleep. Yes, it happens, and yes, we do have poor sleep because of it. But these things what we're talking about is much deeper in the body and the cellular function. It even affects the central nervous system. And yet, when our devices are set up, see, I don't like talks that just talk about the problem, because when our products were tested against a bioresonance study, this is using a device out of Germany, Paul Schmidt, called the radiometer PS10. When we look at the bioresonance, we're looking at how is the body resonating? Is it in harmony or disharmony? And we can look at things like the eyes, the pineal gland, the thalamus. And when you study these with the radiometer, the PS10, it measures 126 different parts of the body, and if they're imbalanced or out of balance, if they're harmonized or in disharmony. And these are the frequency signatures of that organ or that gland or that system, not necessarily a physical manifestation yet, right? This is upstream of that physical manifestation. This is the frequency, how it's resonating. And when he did this, all 126 parts of the body were balanced. The gallbladder, the eyes, the chakras, the stomach, the intestines, the whole colon, the lymphatic system, the liver, the kidneys, pancreas, nerves, your vital energy, your heart strength, tonsils, connective tissue, spleen, skin, hormone balance, all these areas of the body were harmonized, which is creating the framework or the foundation. This is how I talk about it. This is creating the foundation for now all your other modalities to have a greater and effect. So mineralization, nutrition, metabolic health. We've created an environment now that is no longer stressed by the electromagnetic fields. It's now harmonized, it's now balanced, and it's being fed that strong light. So now when you go and do your therapies or protocols, you're introducing it into a field that's ready for it. And a lot of practitioners talk about the benefits of this and how they see their patients, they feel better, but they respond stronger, faster, and things stick longer. So here are some of the benefits of our products: optimized mitochondrial energy, optimized cellular communication, immune function, nervous system, endocrine system. So let me show you kind of how we see this. One more, we live in a sea of light. The question is how clean is the sea that you're living in? I want to be in a crystal clear sea of light. And because every cell in my body has 100,000 chemical reactions a second. And that's the same for your body. And each cell requires the energy from a biophoton to function normally. But if that biophoton is crowded out or clouded by electrosmog, that chemical reaction is going to suffer in effectiveness. And we see some benefits here. Over on the right, this is an organic mushroom versus a conventionally grown mushroom, or an organic broccoli versus a conventional broccoli. Same down here on the right side, organic tomato versus a conventional tomato. Look at the biophotonic emission from the sprout and the cacao. These are like the difference. We're just talking about two different ways of growing systems, growing plants. But in our bodies, we can also choose two different systems. We can be stuck in electrodensity and electrosmog, or be free from that. So you can see here's a biophotonic emission of a person. It's got gaps in it. It should be nice and smooth. And this was before, and then just a 10-minute session with our plates, and things cleared up. They got 32% improved. I have detox experts who say if they move the needle 1 to 2%, that's game changing. So this affects our biofield, which affects then all our chemistry and how we feel and how we think, right from the core. And it does it really pretty immediately because we're using light, but it also works for children. Here's a 10-year-old, her nervous system was out of alignment pretty significantly, and just wearing the necklace here for just a few minutes helped give a 28% improvement in that central nervous system alignment. You can fill in the gaps there on how you think that's going to play out long term, or if you were about to give her a therapy session, what that would, how much better the body would be receptive in this state versus when you're out of balance like this. So we've had doctors do the same study and research and have the same results. Things become statistically more balanced and aligned with both stress, energy, and balance. So we're seeing restored cell function, energy production, restored circadian rhythms. We're seeing mitigated oxidative stress and free radical damage because sunlight is non-polarized. It's when it hits the cell, there's no voltage buildup. But when your cell phone, when you're holding your cell phone or around this high EMF environment, the frequencies from that, the EMF from the phone is polarized. That creates stress on the cells. Right there, you have a root cause of what is going to lead to a healthy cell or a unhealthy cell. So we have incoherent, non-native EMFs, and then with these plates, and they come in multiple sizes and things. The larger they are, the more surface area, the more light they're reflecting, the stronger they are, and they can work for different values and benefits. But back thinking to that first slide, it's like, hey, if we're unprotected, we're dealing with all this EMF, we're fried, right? We're toast, and we're having a hard time. We're full of anxiety and stress. But when we can protect ourselves and actually reverse the story and be harmonized, pretty soon now we are EMF safe family. We're living with structured natural light, which mitigates the effect of that electrosmog. A lot of talks will kind of end on say, well, here are some practices that you can do. I support all these practices. I think they're great. We should be grounding. We should be watching the sunrise. We should be avoiding junk light and getting rid of our cell phones at nighttime, limiting direct exposure to that cell phone, using a selfie stick. I don't even like the speaker because when you have the speaker, you're still holding it in your hand. So a selfie stick or on the table, hardwire that internet at home, turn off the Wi-Fi in your car, take good supplements like boron, selenium. I mean, there are other maybe good natural holistic approaches I don't even have listed on there, but I'd love to hear from you guys if you have experience on what type of supplements or nutrition can actually feed a good EMF healthy diet, because I think that's something we all want to be thinking about and adding in, but avoiding that sugar and processed foods. And yet, even with this is something that these were things that I was doing early on with Jane. The quality of light, if it is inferior, if we're still surrounded with that electrosmog, the cells still are suffering with malillumination. So we may be feeding them good food, but they're not able to process or functionalize it as well because of that electrosmog. Here's a picture of some of our plates. This is our elite light tower, and Colleen was a great story. She lived in Boston. It went smart, had 5G. All of a sudden, her professional singing career was stopped. She had to start wearing protective clothing just to avoid the extreme discomfort and pain and headaches and illnesses that she was all of a sudden having. She also was no longer able to travel with her husband, who is a music professor and travels to Europe a lot for teaching. She couldn't do that anymore. So here we are. This is what I'm talking about with EMF. It creates a separation in the family and in the community because we're now ill, when really we should be together. But her testimony is within a very short period of time, she was able to actually ditch the protective clothing and start, as she says, start living a normal life and do greater work, do greater what God had for her in her life. And here, this is a picture of her that she sent me from the Vatican in Italy, the first trip she had taken since she got inundated with a smart city because she hadn't been able to travel before. And I mean, it's just, she's like, I got my life back. Same with Amy here. She had 14 years of systemic mold, EMS sensitivity, and I should have added chronic multiple chemical sensitivity. Just a really difficult life. Many people had never seen her without protective clothing, and if she'd go into the town, she would be she'd be sick for the next week, and she'd have to do hydrogen peroxide in her ears 3 times a day for 45 minutes just to keep the mold growth at bay. They say that mold grows 600% faster when exposed to cell towers or high EMF. So the mold in her that was systemic in her head would explode when she'd go into town. Within 2 weeks, she knew of a doctor in Kansas City that could help with a very specific mold condition that she had. But she lives in Idaho. That's 5 states away. She was too frail and too weak to make that trip. She couldn't get to his clinic. And so she was left hopeless for several years. When she saw what we had, she was at a meeting, and about an hour and a half of holding these plates next to her, she said, she had more energy at the end of the meeting than before the meeting. So she ended up buying one of our large Light Tower Maxes, which I think is like clinical grade. And she bought that, and she said in 2 weeks, she had booked a clinic appointment with that doctor in Kansas City and was planning to go and visit him within the next couple of weeks. I can't tell you, like, as she was telling me the story, there were tears in her eyes. She just was like, I didn't want to give myself the false hope, but when I could tell myself that when I could tell that I was feeling better, I knew that that my body was actually starting to heal itself for the first time in 14 years. It was beautiful, and it's because of the light that we're doing. There's other testimonials: ankylosis spondylitis, pain relief, frozen shoulder relief. You know, biohackers and health experts are using this. Veterinarians are using this. This is a live blood analysis before and after. You can kind of see bottle cap blood cells here. They're sticky. Um, and that cleared up dramatically within just 10 minutes. Also, this dog, Bruno, he's a very high strung 4.5-year-old Great Dane, never lays down. And within just minutes, he was laying down on the floor and looking at him. He's like looking at the plates going, what is that? So also his blood dramatically improved as well. Um, and then here we are with a human dark field analysis. Look at before. This was a generally pretty healthy, they thought pretty healthy person, and yet their blood was completely sticky, and the amount of oxygen being transferred there is weak. There's a lot of downsides to having your blood sticky like that. I won't go into all those, but the point I'm trying to make is within just 10 minutes, and we waited about a half hour after we did that 10-minute session to do this analysis, because I wanted to see that there's a residual that it holds. And look at the clarity of the nice shaped red blood cells and how bright they are. The amount of light that we're getting into these red blood cells now is dramatic. Light is life, structured light. That's what we're after. You can see it in water here as well. This over here on the right side is without the protection. It's streaky, it's fractured, it looks stressed. And yet on the left side, nice, clear, coherent. And I think one of the things that I'm really excited about is the ability to measure with an electrophotonic sensor the effect of these plates on people and in the environment. And this is why we can do EMF safe events now. This is why when Dr. Nasha saw me and met me, she's like, we need to have you at the Metabolic Health Day Conference, because we can actually improve the quality of the energy in that conference because we can measure it. So before we set up our conditioners, the energy, again, it's high entropy, it's chaotic, it's very stressed, it's all over the place. And yet after we install that conditioner, look what happens. It balances itself out. It becomes more stable, more consistent. Our bodies thrive in that environment. So we can improve the coherence, we can improve the energy in the environment, and we can reduce the chaos. Here's another really neat chart from that same sensor. This shows the activity level of the environment. Red, yellow, orange, we want to avoid. That means it's elevated, it's high stressed. We want to be green or even dark green for meditative, but green is that balanced, optimal state for life. And you can see in just a few minutes, this is a 16-hour view that I took in a clinic. Within just a few minutes, we had a major shift and change in the condition of the environment. It took a little while, and then look, it just balances out and has a pretty stable, energetic field that you just don't find anymore. It's really hard to go anywhere and find that type of environment. We did a hotel just a couple weeks ago, and this was really exciting here. You know, beforehand, very stressed, right? They've got all the LED lights, they've got the Wi-Fi. There's tons of phones. We were at a conference, so there's hundreds of phones. And yet, as soon as we set up the geofield conditioner that's going to be at the Metabolic Health Day Conference, the energy just evened right out. And at the very end, you can see down here, it got dark green. We actually did a sound bowl therapy class, a sound bath in that same room. And you can see the energy in the room just went even down into that meditative state. So really cool to start to see how you can layer different modalities. Well, what happened then after overnight, all night long, the quality of the energy was very stable. So the people in that hotel would be sleeping more soundly and more deeply than they would have otherwise. And we also see overnight that the activity level went into that meditative state, which is where you can get into that deep delta sleep as well and start feeling better when you wake up. Quickly on farms, you know, we see a photosynthetic capacity increase. We do see production change and improve. And a lot of that's because we're feeding it with that quality light. We're removing that electrosmog. Just like if you're having respiratory issues in a smog with air smog, you're going to have health issues. Here, plants also have health issues, and we see that changing. Cow fertility restored, milk production rises. There's so many things I could go into. EMF high yield farming. Ranchers are enjoying this. And this is one of the best quotes. Stan Steckler says, if I had a set amount of dollars to spend on inputs for the farm, this, which is the geofield conditioner, would be the first thing I'd spend my money on. Within 2 to 3 months, those cows start cycling and showing heat. He said, and the dung beetles came back, which is like gold for these farmers. He just said, this is how important that getting your energy right in your environment is. Before he'd buy a tractor, he'd buy one of the conditioners. And we've got these stories all over the country. So we have programs like this, like that that we're creating right now. EMF Safe Farm. I believe that consumers, once they become aware of the benefits of growing and raising food in an EMF safe environment, are going to want to ask for that. We have EMF safe clinics. We're introducing this concept right now. And at the health conference, at the Metabolic Health Day Conference, we're going to have a giveaway as a starter kit to help launch that EMF safe clinic. We also have an initiative for EMF safe schools. This is a big deal, right? Public, private, charter, home, whatever school you go, your children are at, your grandchildren are at, let's protect them from the EMF and give them a nice solid foundation energetically to build on. So what's coming up at the Health Day Conference? Big orders placed today through October 11th. If you spend $200, you get $500 gift certificate. These pendants are about $200. So you buy something for your necklace, for your neck, you can get another one and a half for your family as well. So that will be there going live later on today. And then orders placed before 12 p.m. on October 11th. So that conference is the 10th and 11th. So before noon on the second day of the conference, if you have an active clinic or a practitioner, you will enter into a drawing that I'll draw in the afternoon of the second day to win a practitioner starter kit. It's a little over a $7,000 value. You'll get an elite light tower, a stand, and 3 actives and 3 flows. We can go into more about what those products are, but really the idea is let's get our environment healthy, let's get our space healthy, and we can start thriving. We can start feeling better and solving that missing piece that is hitting some of our major clients. So, Dr. Nasha, that's a wrap for me. Kind of a fire hose, I know, but
So good. And what a great fire hose it was. I mean, a lot of this information, a lot of folks who might be new to this, my guess is some of you might be going, oh, hooey, this is bullshit. I'll just be really blunt because I think that that's my first thought when I started hearing about these things. Our brains immediately go to thinking we are wearing tinfoil hats here. But a few years ago in 2018, even though I knew and of EMF sensitivity and all these concepts, I attended a conference that was actually co-hosted by Dr. Lynn Patrick and Dr. Deborah Davis, who is actually one of our keynotes for this event. And this is who Dan is actually sponsoring her keynote lecture. It was an EMF conference, and it completely, even though I already was believing in it to some degree, having world-renowned scientists from all over the world and clinicians from all over the world there talking about this, it just is very reminiscent of the weird gaslighting we've been in the last few years, that this is something that has been really, really ignored. And so this is real, folks. It's not going away. It's only going to get worse. And we need all the tools and resources we can get. And to meet people like Dan on this journey, there are hope creators. I mean, he out of pain to purpose stumbled across some technologies that he has brought forth and is educating and empowering us to do the same, because it's not going to go away. So we better know how to harness it and transform it within our own living and working environments. So Dan, thank you for that beautiful presentation. You have a ton of comments and questions, so I want to make sure we got time for that.
all right, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So first question that we had in here in the Q&A, this person's trying to understand how the protections for MacBooks, iPhones, iPads that are on the backs or underneath, and how it helps them when looking at the monitors or screens. Again, it sounds like just really trying to understand how all those things work.
Okay, yeah, the question is, are you asking like how the
And things that go on. Yeah.
those stickers and things?
Yeah. Does that work? Is it?
Yeah. Well, again, so this topic is we're focused on light and how do we get more light in the cells? How do we get more light into the mitochondria and get you energetic? So from that perspective, those things don't even equate to what we're working with. Does blocking technologies or shielding things help? If we can reduce exposure, we should. I'd point you to Dr. Magda Havis, who did a study on over 100 or more of those stickers. Her results were not impressive at all. So I don't endorse them or support them myself, but if you can reduce exposure, then do it. I mean, some people, if you have like a Faraday cage, like fabric that you can put between your lap and a computer, it's probably going to help.
Great.
Perfect. And by the way, Dr. Magda is one of the big speakers at that big event. I mean, she's world renowned in her research here, so people could follow up with her work as well.
That's great. Dr. Nasha, do you mind putting her name in the chat so people can, or do you?
I'll go find it.
Okay,
Yeah,
great.
I've got it.
Okay, great. What if you could put her name in the chat so people can look up her research? That'd be great. So Janny is asking, what does Dr. Winters suggest regarding supplements or food or herbs? Anything that you would suggest diet wise, lifestyle wise, I guess, that would help support people in better mitigating, I guess.
Well, the first step is just to get your own cycles in order. Your own circadian rhythm by your own light exposures, your day and nighttime exposures, your home exposures. That's most critical because you can't supplement away bad light, you can't supplement away bad lifestyle. And then things like, certain our plant foods and whatnot are and specifically vegetables, not grains and legumes. Actually, I think they blunt this a bit, but they're biophotonic as well. And so having those, you become a reflection of that. Things like curcumin are known as photosensitizing agents. B vitamins are known as sensitizing agents, optimizing your D3 levels, through sunshine first, food second. At certain situations definitely may need some supplementation, but really cleaning up your diet, your lifestyle, and getting in rhythm of this the season in your life and the season in the environment in which you're living is really the critical baseline. And then just making sure you're being mindful. There's a lot of things that can help protect your DNA in general, which is again more based on your lifestyle and your light exposure habits. And so I think Dan did a great job talking about some of that list that you did early on of some starting points, like just make sure you are definitely lowering your exposure in the environments that you can control.
Most definitely. Thank you. So Deborah's asking, how does wearing pendants or protect her from the cell phone EMF if she's holding it or if it's in front of her face? How does that pendant work?
Yeah. So the pendant is reflecting that amplified photonic resonance right into the body. So the cells, the body is now resonating a higher degree of order. It's more vital. It has more life force. So your immune system gets blunted by the cell phone, and this helps reverse that to mitigate that. So your immune system is stronger, and then anything that's why we're harmonizing, and that's what that one study that I showed kind of depicts is that we're helping the body be stronger to fight the toxins and detox and heal and recover. So you still can get attacked by different things, but how is the body responding? I think that was my big learning with my daughter Jane was it's not so much that we need to block this stuff and live in a bubble. It's how do we help the body respond appropriately to the assaults that we get?
Huge. Big difference. Big different mindset. Again, speaking to in our culture, we tend to want to do the the antibiotic, the anti-hypertensive.
Right.
You're talking about how do we make peace with it? How do we harmonize with it? Because it isn't going nowhere. So I love that that's how you speak to it.
Great. Okay. Do the light panels expire or wear out?
Yeah, thankfully they do not, and I love that about the products because they are very durable that way. Because we're changing the nanostructure of the metal, it's not a coating, it's not a chemical transaction, it's not a crystal that we've applied that can wear out over time. The actual metal is altered, and so you can in that way it doesn't wear out at all. So we have a nice durable lifetime product.
Fantastic. So Larry would like to know what plants, indoor, outdoor, can help protect us. Dr. Nasha, you want to take that one?
I mean, really any. I mean, there's so many studies that just show just being exposed to nature changes how your cells respond. And so there are definitely like the pathos plants and the mother tongue plants and various ferns can do a lot, which is kind of cleaning the air and cleaning the environment. But I think anytime you expose yourself to nature, unfortunately, in today's age, I think we are truly nature deficient. And so just any time that you can be exposed to nature is going to be very helpful. And so those plant shrubs in around the house are very critical. Like keep them in your visual at all times.
Great.
Would you add something to that, Dan?
No, I think that's a great answer. Yeah. The more we can have nature around us and the less artificial light. I mean, how often do you really need the light on during the day? If you've got windows, you've got daylight, maybe you don't need those lights on. Just lower that exposure.
Great. Okay, so what are some symptoms of those that may be sensitive? Are there any biochemical markers or indicators that would alert one that they are more vulnerable and help individuals from getting themselves into these debilitating situations?
Do you want to take that one first, or?
I could start. I mean, in my world, it would always be like we would have, people come in with certain set of symptoms, and you've done all the things. You've done all the lab testing, you've cleaned up the diet, you've cleaned up the lifestyle, you've cleaned up these things. This is usually one of those between sort of these EMFs and emotional toxicity, emotional patterns. Those tend to be the invisible ones that are influencing, and it's almost like a power of deduction, like taking things away to see what's left behind. But boy, howdy, people can describe everything from immune issues, as noted with Dan's daughter, to headaches, to fatigue, neurological symptoms, psychological symptoms, skin sensations, general symptoms, namely fatigue, lack of concentration, sleep disturbances. Those are the ones that are most likely reported. And so a lot of it is just about taking yourself out of it. So if you can go like camping for 2 weeks. I tell people if you can find the furthest off the grid place you can go as possible, look around for EMFs, you can look for towers and spend 2 weeks abroad. You will know very quickly how impacted you are. Even a few days away can make a difference. So if you can find yourself a white zone, which is like a low EMF zone, and go there for even 24 hours, 36 hours or longer, you can actually know exactly what's impacting you. So if anyone here has ever experimented with that, that's a very quick telling story. I know how I feel every time I get on an airplane. Every single time. Like it's really kicked my ass this year. But I also know how I feel when I'm out in nature, walking on the beach with my feet in the ocean and walking on the ground. Such a difference. You will start to know if you pay attention. And to the metrics, it could differ for everybody. But if people have chronic mold or chronic metal or chronic viral patterns, they're bouncing off each other. I think that was the biggest take home for me at the EMF conference was that, as you mentioned, Dan, it's like if you have a sensitivity to mold or viral infections, the EMFs just worsen it. Like they just compound one another.
Yeah. Yep, definitely. I think the other thing we would see is like even digestion can be affected by it too. So if you're having problems with digestion, neuropathy, and then more severe ones that show up would be diabetes, heart disease, cancer, and those are all amplified by the EMF as well.
Yeah, huge.
Great. Okay, let's see here. Larry is asking about light bulbs. Are there any light bulbs that you would recommend?
Man, this is a tough question. I wish I had I wish I had one that I just believed in. The problem is that even full spectrum LED lights, LED I don't think you can get healthy LED. You can maybe get healthier, but not healthy. So it's really hard for me to recommend one. I would rather go with incandescence and do your best to find that. Uh, you can always find those appliance light bulbs. They're not a lot of wattage, but they are incandescent and they're usually clear. You can want to avoid the coated ones because they're coated with mercury that has off-gassing issues. So, yeah, I'm on the hunt. There's a new company that's doing them commercially for industrial applications or for street lights but they are too expensive for the home. So they don't have a consumer product yet, but I will keep my ear out. And as soon as I find them, I will buy them for my house and I will let you all know about it too.
I love it. We'll do another webinar once we figure out what that answer is.
Yes.
One more question, and then we need to wrap it up here. But Mira wants to know if you send your products to Europe.
I do. Yes.
Perfect. And we just have a couple. Go ahead, Nasha.
That shungite question I think is really good. So if this person's going to know how, like things like orgone and shungite, how they may compare, contrast, in supporting us. Go for it, Dan. I think this is your jam.
Okay, yeah, I think so. Shungite, orgone, all those things are going to be compatible with what we're doing. Shungite is a natural product, a rock that has blocking properties, and they can be helpful. But again, I learned that it's about getting the light into the cell and into the mitochondria and in and around us that makes a big difference. So again, if we can lower our exposure, great. Orgone is also another thing that can be, have done well, can be beneficial, but orgone accumulates. And so you go get both the good frequencies and negative energies. And if you're not careful, you could be amplifying negative as well. Like if you're in a room with an orgone accumulator and you have a Wi-Fi router, that is not a healthy situation to be in. So make sure you're clearing the orgone. Make sure you're clearing those crystals that you'd be using. If you use crystals, get them cleaned every so often. Leave them out in the sun. But they're very compatible with what we're doing. I think we're at more of a foundational level, which means that you can build on top of. And I've had people take our plates, put an orgone pyramid on top, and the benefits of that orgone are significantly amplified. So, it's because the light that's drawing in, we're getting more light.
Wow. Fascinating. Completely fascinating.
Yeah.
I learned so much. Okay, before we go, we have a lot of people asking about, you've presented some very awesome offers. And so people are wanting to know how they access that opportunity to get the $500 gift certificate. It looks like you're going to have a lot of purchases here.
Okay, perfect. So what I want you to do is when you go in and order, in the discount code, put MHD 2025 So that's Metabolic Health Day. So MHD 2025. And we will email you the gift certificate. Our systems don't automate those gift certificates, but we will email that to you within a day. And then you can use that gift certificate later on the store.
Perfect. I'm excited. I'm going to go order.
Good.
I'm like, I'm so excited.
I want this in as many hands as possible.
Well, we are so grateful to you for what you've shared and excited to have you with us at the conference. So everyone, this is being recorded, and so look for an email tomorrow. It takes a little bit for everything to process, and so in the follow-up email, I will send the link to this recording, and I'll make sure I include that code to get the gift certificate as well. And so again, if you're coming to the conference, be sure to check out Dan and the Essential Energy booth, and you can see some of these products for yourself, and you'll feel the products for yourself. That's the important part, right?
Right.
So gracious offer for that too, Dan. That helps us all. Dr. Deborah was very concerned about all of the exposure she'd be getting in that hotel, and you are helping us all along the way. So thank you, thank you, thank you. We'll see you in a couple days, and thanks everybody for being here.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.